Coaches are one of the most influential factors in regards to athlete performance and development. As a coach, it is important to recognise this and implement a coaching philosophy that aligns with the goals and needs of athletes and training sessions' developmental objectives. My coaching philosophy is made up of a multitude of concepts which are designed to address the needs and goals of the athletes whilst also maintaining integrity and seeking the best method for improvement. The main components of my coaching philosophy include creating a fun and welcoming environment in which all athletes enjoy being in and feel well respected as an athlete and a friend. The most important part of my training philosophy is the notion of skill acquisition and learning the appropriate skills correctly in the beginning of their sporting journey. This includes learning the unique skill and detailed fundamentals of the given sport to ensure effective performance and coordination. The beginning phase of skill acquisition is where most information is absorbed and many habits are formed, which is why it is important to learn effectively from the beginning. This will ensure effective athletic performance and reduce the risk of sports-related injury as a result of poor form and execution. Today's training session is designed for beginner adolescent hurdlers, particularly aged 18 to 19. Hurdling is a highly technical skill which requires the knowledge and understanding of skills to the finest detail. If not executed correctly, hurdling can pose great danger as the athlete propels themselves towards a stationary object at full speed. This session will be broken down into 3 segments. The first having a focus on familiarization to the sport and creating a fun aspect to training. The second is aimed to teach the athletes the fundamentals of hurdling and important components such as lead leg positioning and motion. This is then followed by implementing these newly learnt skills into a race environment, which allows the application of skills in a more fun and challenging way. Each segment will go for a duration of roughly 10 minutes each, or until performance appears adequate. By drawing inspiration from knowledgeable sources such as Michael Wellington, an elite hurdle coach, effective drills and exercises have been implemented to ensure that skills are learnt correctly and efficiently. These skills take time to learn and may take numerous sessions in order to make noticeable improvement. 4 or more hurdles are required as well as 20 cones. The entire session should last roughly 45 minutes, including adequate warm-up and cool-down, which is appropriate for beginners. So today's session is designed for adolescent beginner hurdlers with the objective being to learn the fundamentals of hurdling and using the correct technique. The session will be broken up into 3 activities. The first one being just a fun one to sort of familiarize the athletes with hurdles and the concept of it. The second one being mobility and like strict fundamentals, positioning of the body. And then the third one combining those together and having a race for more fun. So this first exercise is the purpose is to familiarise the athletes with the concept of hurdling and have a little bit of a challenge as well to compete. So the way this one works is we're going to run and hurdle over both hurdles, run to the cone, turn, come back and then high knees through these cones here. So I'll do that now. During this exercise, it is important to expect hesitation and lack of coordination. This activity will allow to gauge the level of ability amongst the athletes and determine specific areas for improvement. Running at a stationary object can be intimidating, and you should expect to see errors in most beginners due to overanalyzing the hurdle height and timing, or not even considering this at all. One common thing to see is multiple mini steps prior to each hurdle. This is typical in beginners but improves with confidence and speed. Another error that is common is that the athlete will try to avoid the hurdle by swinging their legs sideways over the hurdle in a straddle-like position. This indicates that this athlete may require more assistance, which you can see in the male athlete in these videos. Here you can also see the female misjudge the hurdle height, which is important for learning through error. You should expect to see many hurdles knocked over as the athlete makes mistakes and learns to be more comfortable. The cones are used to promote correct running technique, teaching the athletes correct stride length and momentum. This helps to eradicate the mini steps that occur. So this next drill will focus on the fundamentals of hurdling and mobility and basically just getting the technique right, which is really important for beginners. So this one is for the lead leg of hurdling, so the lead motion. So the aim of it is to bring your knee, when you approach the hurdle, bringing your knee up above the crossbar with the flex foot
over like that and just bring the other leg through. We're not focusing on the drag leg.
Okay.
So we're focusing on incorporating the arm movement as well. So the arm can go anywhere up here, but it cannot cross the body. That will restrict movement. So when we come over, the arm will be like that. But as soon as it crosses like that, it stops mobility. The athletes will go through these 4 hurdles and they will repeat the drill over maybe 4 or 5 times, whilst either coach will observe if the technique is correct, correcting them and giving them feedback. We're just going to incorporate it all in one go.
As hurdles can be intimidating for beginners, this can create hesitation and fear of failure. It is important to let these athletes feel more comfortable by allowing them to observe first. This drill helps with mobility and muscle development, whilst allowing the athlete to familiarise themselves with the objective of hurdling. There are 4 components to hurdling. These should be observed and critiqued throughout. The first is having a lead arm that punches through the hurdle and not past the midline of the body. This will allow for momentum, as the arm can cause the body to rotate. The second component is ensuring that the lead leg drives forward, leading with the knee above the crossbar. This will allow for the athlete to clear the height easier. It is common for beginners to do this incorrectly and use a straight leg. The third component requires the foot of the lead leg to be dorsiflexed. This allows the foot to contact the ground correctly and allow the athlete to drive out of the hurdle. The fourth component is noted in the next drill. You should expect some beginners to take more time to understand this and consider that their progress may take longer.
So the next drill is the same concept but doing the drag leg. So we're going to come over the side of the hurdles. So what you want is for the lead leg to come up high as if you were doing a normal hurdle motion. Come down like this. The drag leg, tight in the body and high over the hurdle. The tighter into the body the better. So it comes over, swing forward, but it must come back right where in line with the body. So big step, back under. Big step, back under. Tight into the body, like that. So to keep this one going, because it will repeat like the other one over a few times until they can get it right, both athletes or all athletes will come up the side of the hurdle, doing it like that, but then once they get through, they'll continue to go around and it will be in a circular motion.
The fourth component of hurdling requires the drag leg to be kept high with the ankle tight towards the body that maintains the motion as the athlete drives through to the sprint. This maintains coordination and momentum as the drag leg is not left behind. It is common to observe a swinging motion of the drag leg. It is important to critique this as the drag leg is just as crucial as the lead leg. The foot of the drag leg should also be kept dorsiflexed as it helps to make good contact with the ground as the athlete sprints. Remember to observe the other components such as high knee and correct arms. These concepts can take a long time to master, which is why it is important to begin early before habits are formed.
So this next activity is just a fun little finisher, just to keep the mood up, and they can combine the movements that they've been taught in using the correct technique. So it's just 2 hurdles and they get to race each other, so that there's that sense of a challenge, and they're going to incorporate everything they've learned with the lead leg and the drag leg. Okay. So the aim for this one, it'll be about a 3/4 pace as they combine the techniques that they've learned. It still won't be 100%, but it will be better than what they started with as they've learned better technique. So it'll just be like simple 2 hurdles.
This final segment of the session allows the athletes to combine what they have learnt with the sprinting component in a more challenging environment. The sense of challenge will make the session more engaging as the athletes will not have spent the entire time doing drills. You should expect the athletes to still experience lack of coordination, however they should seem more confident and slightly faster. These races should be completed numerous times for roughly 10 to 15 minutes, changing opponents each race if there are more than 2 athletes. This should typically be performed with 4 to 6 hurdles each. You may use a timer to create a more competitive edge and allow each athlete to stay motivated to beat their own time as well as others. Between each race, it is important to provide constructive feedback, which will allow the athletes to try and alter their form. After completing this session, the athletes have made slight improvements in their performance as expected. Generally, learning the skill takes a long time, so it is expected that the athletes will need a few more sessions similar to this in the future before their focus turns to power and speed. It is important to recognise the nature of beginners in understanding that their competitive goals may not be fully established and their focus is most likely just on enjoyment and fitness. The sessions following this should have similar concepts with fun aspects, including races or obstacle courses. They should be kept short to avoid boredom and should continuously be provided with constructive feedback. I spoke to the athletes after the session during the cool-down, asking for their thoughts on the session. Both made comments regarding the length of the session being great for beginners and that the activities were simple to understand and they were fun and challenging. Both athletes noted that they felt more comfortable by the end of the session and that they felt like they had improved a bit.